All right, all right, all right, all right. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Good to see everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I see a lot of familiar and some unfamiliar faces joining us today. Excited to have you guys on KLear Channel on Friday. So first thing first is my helpless plug. If you could help me, help you, and help your friends, look around, Evan, look around. See if there's anyone in the room that pull out your cell phone. I see New Jersey's on today. So Jersey, pull out your cell phone, pull out your cell phone. Go to YouTube, YouTube, you know YouTube, you're on there this morning, and type in KLear channel, KLear Channel. And please, please, please subscribe. We're over 800 subscribers. We're looking to get into 1,000 here shortly. And I'm really, really excited to do that. The next 2 weeks, I will tell you, we have some pretty awesome guests that have been confirmed. Next week, I'm getting a friend of mine, Annie, on our call. Long story short, she was a CEO at 24 years old of a coffee bean and leaf company that competed with Starbucks for many, many years. She now is an executive coach and consultant that works with companies that do over 10 million a year in business. Just an incredible story of an entrepreneur. She actually created a drink in the coffee business. I'll go through that next week when we get her on. And she also is an author of a new book. Excuse me. And then the following week, we have a good friend of mine that's in the recruiting space, my buddy Derek, who also runs a recruiting company here in Michigan and is a top performer in the recruiting industry. So a couple really good people. I'm talking to another guy, Tyrone, who's a former NFL 12-year athlete in the NFL, and he may be coming on the following week. So we got a couple really cool speakers coming on in the next few weeks, and I'm looking to level up. But for today, guys, I want to talk a little bit about life. Some life lessons. I want to talk a little bit about trends, and so we can all prepare for our futures. So a couple of things that you may or may not be paying attention to that I would encourage you to think about and pay attention to. First of all, I don't know about how many of you guys have money in the stock market. But there's a lot of people that have money in the stock market. I always learned, or was told in my early 20s, let's make a lot of money and then you invest in stocks. Like that was like a thing to do in the 90s and 2000s. And if you're paying attention to the stock market isn't doing so hot. The trend is down. And there's a lot of people that unfortunately are getting hammered in the stock market. And then there's this other trend that's called crypto. And some people put a lot of money in crypto. The people that want to get rich quick, and they think it's just an overnight thing and it's not a long-term play. If you're paying attention to the crypto space, it too is down. It's trending down. And there's a lot of people in the last 90 days that have really gone upside down. And then if you're paying attention also, there's something called interest rates. And so interest rates, for a very long time have been historically very low. And that's good for people that are buying homes and borrowing money. But interest rates are currently starting to move up. Also, you may not be paying attention, but the cost of goods, the cost of things, the cost of living is going up. The loaf of bread, the milk, the gas, there's lots of things that are trending up. And you may not have known, but in the last 2 years, the US government has printed 40% more money than in the history of our country. 40% more money is in circulation now just in the last 2 years. And the interesting thing is, the money distribution, meaning people that got it, it was distributed pretty equally among all Americans. Based on kids, there's a couple of factors that changed it a little bit. But the interesting thing is people that aren't smart, are not making smart long-term decisions, have now given the money back to the wealthy through buying things, through purchasing things. So the wealthier and the smarter Americans have gotten richer over this time. And so what are all these things pointing to? Again, if you pay attention to patterns in US history, things are pointing to an economic shift where things are going to change. Now, the interesting thing about history is they say if you don't learn from it, you will repeat it. And this goes in your life. If you don't learn from things in your life, things that cause you pain, then you're destined to repeat it. And now the other interesting thing is over the last 24 months, there's been more millionaires and billionaires created than in the history of the US as well. I just saw something about LeBron James has just became a billionaire. One of the first active NBA players. Most of the time it's, for the athletes, it's after they finish their career, but he's still actively playing basketball and he's become a billionaire. Now, why do I share these things with you guys? Because the interesting thing, the industry that we're in, where we're a growing organization and we're a growing entity and we're looking for great talent, what happens when these shifts are happening, these moves are happening in the economy, is unemployment rises. I was on a call yesterday about jobs and about the trends, and they're starting to say that there is less jobs in the market because jobs are getting cut. I saw another email 2 days ago about how many layoffs are coming for big car companies. Again, being in Michigan, I'm familiar with that world. And the interesting thing is, again, is the industry that we're in, it could be a very huge positive. And I don't like the fact that, in life, sometimes negative things happen to people. But I do think in life, at times, you can take a negative and turn it into a positive. And literally the call I was on this morning, the guy said, and again, this is a guy that runs a massive car company, runs one of the biggest dealerships in the US. He said that when everything happened in the last 2 or 3 years and things in 2008, when the recession hit in 2008, he was asking himself, why wasn't he in a recession-proof industry? A recession-proof industry is an industry that will grow and or sustain itself when things go south in the economy. And the very interesting thing in the industry that we're in is when the recession happened in 2008, our company grew more than ever because great people wanted opportunity. Great people started to realize that they can't bet on corporate America anymore. They can't bet on these massive organizations. They got to start betting on themselves. They got to start being a part of an organization where their performance actually matters. And so I encourage you guys to think about these things, because over the next 5 years, I guarantee you there's going to be people listening to this call, listening to these videos that I make, and listening to the world and learning from others, and they will become millionaires over the next 5 years in our industry. And that to me is really, really exciting. Because I know from the beginning of when I started my career, all I wanted was a fair shot to do well in life and a fair shot to come through for my family. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I think sometimes, for me, when I was young in business, I didn't really put it all together. I didn't really understand what the long-term play was. And I didn't really understand how the world really impacted the industries and the businesses and the choices I made. And I guess I'm just incredibly grateful that I just stayed the course. And I went through all the bumps and bruises and I learned what I had to learn to be in the industry that we're in. Because looking back and even meeting other people that are even more successful than I am and are maybe as successful, they're getting nervous again. Just like they did in 2008, even more nervous than ever, because their company, their industries get impacted. Like people in the car business in 2008, there's a lot of locations that closed down. A lot of families' legacies ended in 2008 because of the way the world went. And so very interesting times we are as an economy, very interesting times we are as people. I will tell you this, you will either start thinking in the right way, start creating and making decisions to move yourself in a path and a career like the one that we're in, and taking action. And so you can position yourself, you know, in our business, just based on recruiting, we could double and triple in size over the next 2 or 3 years, as the talent, unfortunately, is, you know, removed from other organizations. They got to pull back. Well, when a recession happens, the clients that we work with, they want even more. The sales they need is even more valuable than it ever is. And today, compared to 5-10 years ago, you know, we got more people in the sales role in our organization on pace to make $100,000 this year than we ever have in the history of our company. We have more people that are on pace to make 75, 80 grand a year than we ever have in the history of our organization. So to me, I'm really excited. So that's my first life lesson for you guys. Again, I never thought about this stuff in my 20s. I never thought about this stuff in my early 30s. But as I watch trends and I watch how the world works, I wanted to share that with you guys today. So hopefully you took something from that. The second life lesson I want to talk about is the art of being happy. You know, in order to take advantage of opportunities, in order to take advantage of things, you have to learn how to mentally be clicked in. And, you know, I hear people say, I heard, you know, and I was on a couple calls again, and I hear people ask questions like, what do you do to not get burned out? What do you do to keep your energy high? Well, first of all, you have to be around the right people. If you're around people that drain you and they constantly have to give them energy, then it's taking away from you. And so, you know, that's huge. The circle of influence, the circle of people, the decisions you make, and those kind of, again, inside and outside of work, absolutely affects your happiness. But there is an art to being happy. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's easy to be happy. It's easy because everything's going your way, right? You just happen to, you know, things are going away in sales, things are going your way in your career, things are going your way in your relationships, things are going your way in family, friends are getting, I mean, there's so many positive things that are going on. Sometimes it's easy sometimes to be happy. And then, you know, I'll tell you, on the opposite side of that, it's sometimes very difficult to create your own happiness and to choose to be happy when things aren't going your way. Things, you know, maybe your career and your mind is not moving as quickly or as growing as much as you wanted to. And, you know, maybe you know, things have happened where you've gotten humbled and, you know, some things that you're doing aren't working for you and you got to pivot and learn from those things. Maybe you just had a heartache in a relationship that just fell apart that you really were, you know, excited about. I mean, there's lots of things can affect somebody's mentality and somebody's day-to-day. So my suggestion is to if you want to learn how to create that internal happiness and the strength to be happy no matter what's going on around you, it starts off with your routines. And for me, it's filling my cup up, filling up myself on a daily basis and on a consistent basis. And I literally have mental training that I go through to build the strength and the stamina and the emotional side to make sure I'm strong and happy on a daily basis. So I literally, if I ever feel like I'm going too far one way and I feel like I'm, you know, more tired than usual, I'm taking on more responsibilities, I'm thinking about things I don't have control over. That's like the big draining, is when you start thinking about things you can't control, it gets really emotional and straining because it's frustrating because you can't control them. And so for me, I take extra time in my disciplines. I take extra time in my morning meditations, in my morning, workouts and things. And so it is an absolute choice to see the trees, to see the good among the forest, among all the chaos of life. And trust me when I tell you, if you're not a parent yet, it just multiplies. And if you ever become a parent or want to be a parent, and man, it's it's an extra layer of craziness that goes on in a day-to-day. And there's some good books. The Dalai Lama wrote a couple books about happiness, and I've read a few of them. But for me, what I do is I constantly think about the next goal, like the next check mark, the next stop on the run, like the next mile marker in a way. And I get driven and thoughtful and creative about ways that I'm going to reward myself when I get to that check mark, when I get to that little milestone. And listen, things that I like to do, and in our business, I like to include our people. So I have a goal right now that has to do with some of the people I coach that run offices, a revenue goal. And I said, hey, when these 3 or 4 people hit a certain revenue, then I'm going to reward myself and I'm going to have some fun. But I attach my goals to, some of those of my people. Now, listen, at times I attach the goals for things I'm doing, right? It just depends on where I am. Excuse me. It just depends on where I am in my career and my business, and how I think about that next step. Now, a super big key about happiness and about setting goals is you have to protect your time. You have to protect your time, and you can't waste it. So again, for me, what I do is I watch people's actions, I watch what they're doing, and I watch if they're putting in the effort. And listen, sometimes I need an older brother, sometimes I need a supportive measure, but then other times it's just they're constantly doing the things that kind of pull them away. So give an example. I set up meetings, I set up calls, whatever. And if people are constantly missing the calls and they're constantly whatever, I just remove them from my schedule. And then I let them know, hey, listen, and I'm not judging them. I just let them know, hey, listen, no big deal. Just let me know when you want to reschedule. No big deal. But I remove them off my consistent schedule because I want to put my time into people that are doing all the little things. Because the little things really matter when it comes to growing. And my target, when I shifted my happiness, and again, I struggled with this a little bit years ago, and a lot of it had to do with my life and my family. But what I started to do is I started focusing on people that had follow through. I started focusing on people that, in a way, motivated me through their actions. I started spending time with people that are doing all the little things instead of focusing on the ones that are not. And because they're draining me, I started focusing on the people that are. And I started to realize that, oh my God, when I put time into the people doing the right things, I see the right things, I help them do more of the things, and then their productivity raises, and then their business grows and their career grows. And so, but it was really hard for me to make that shift because in a way I kind of felt bad for ones that sucked. I felt bad for the people that, that weren't doing what they said they were going to do. And I kind of felt like I should try to help them. But I realized that people have to choose to meet me halfway first before I can get them to go the rest of the way. If they're not choosing to go halfway, then hey, that's on them. And I choose to work with the rest of the things. So keep that in mind about being happy and spending time in the right areas and the right people. Another huge life lesson for me as I was growing my organization and my business. All right, and the last one about accomplishing things. One of the things I realized recently, which was a big aha for me as I was coaching someone, was I was trying so hard to help them see things in their business, and without, in a way, telling them. I want them to come to the conclusion on their own, because I realized when people see things for themselves, then they tend to make changes more often than me just telling them what to change. And so I started to realize, though, that if I wanted to see things in them, I needed to be better at doing it myself. So in other words, the saying is, if you feel like you're deserving of something, you got to ask yourself, are you doing the things that help you deserve those things? And the truth was I wasn't really ready for the responsibility. I wasn't ready to help this person reach their goals yet. And so what I had to do is take a step back And I had to really, again, learn the skills myself. So give an example in my career, like moving into a management position in my 20s. I was like talking about all the time, I want to get promoted. I want to get promoted. I want to get promoted. And the reality was I wasn't ready. The reality was I didn't have the skills. And the reality was I wasn't doing the things I needed to do. So giving an example, confident indifference is a huge skill when it comes to leadership. So confident indifference in my eyes is that you have confidence in yourself and what you're doing and where you're going. And it's just a matter of time. And then you have indifference towards other people. And not that they're bad people, but you're indifferent to the fact of the choices they make, right? Because some people are going to choose wrong. And again, with no judgment, they may choose wrong. You still try to help them. You try to help them along in their journey. But if they don't make the change and they're constantly not committing to the things that they have to do, no big deal. I'm not going to try to force them to change. I know that over time, there'll come a point that either they're going to make the changes themselves and then start advancing in their career like they need to be or like they want to be, or they won't. And that's okay, because not everyone is meant to be in leadership. Not everyone's meant to be responsible for other people. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I will tell you, in the game of life, if you want to make money and you want to do well financially, typically it comes with a level of responsibility. The more responsibility you have, the more income you make. It's a correlation in all industries and all businesses. So the key here is, in my eyes, you got to learn those things yourself. Another big thing was when I was wanting to get promoted, I wanted to get ahead. I realized at one point that I felt like I needed people, like I needed certain situations to happen. I needed whatever. And there's an old saying in leadership that you can't lead if you need. So you can't lead people if you feel like you need them. And listen, relationships and fun and everything else, cool. There's a certain part of us, I think we do need that. But if you feel like you're showing up to mentor a staff or mentor your teams or train other people, like you need them to do whatever, we're starting off with the wrong energy. In my eyes, the leader sets the tone, and the qualified trainee or the stud that you want to have around in the business or in the organization would want to be a part of that team, would want to keep up with you as a top performer, as opposed to you trying to pick them up and carry them like a backpack on your shoulder. It's like, no, hey, listen, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. And I'm going to set the pace. I'm going to set the tone, as opposed to me kind of forcing you or trying to make you, get this. And I'll tell you, I remember a part of my career also, as I was building an organization, the tricky part about the business we're in is when people get promoted out, they run their own locations, they run their own offices, they run their own businesses. And so at the end of the day, it's their business. So I can't force them to do anything. It's their business. All I can do is coach them and consult them and give them my perspective and my advice. It's like, again, the analogy that I was given many years from my coaches is like, hey, the way you raise your children is you raise them when they're in the house. Once they go off to college, once they get out of the house, it's like you just hope that all the skills and all the example and all the things you did, that it helps them, make great choices. And sometimes they won't make great choices. So a great parent won't judge their children, and they'll help them along and hopefully make better choices next time. So, but I remember worrying about my guys throughout my career. I remember back in the early sales days when I was like young at leadership, I would be so worried in the field, learning about and about what my team was doing. I wouldn't take care of myself, which is it's just not something that will end up in a great result. So again, some things I had to learn, and I definitely got my ass kicked a little bit during this time, and I had to go through it. But it helped me realize that I had to be better at those things. Now, so when it comes to doing things that you feel like you deserve and getting what you want, I will say this: hugely important when it comes to respect. Respect is something that's vital. Respect is something that you earn. It is not something that's given to you. And listen, I know the easiest thing to do to help gain respect of other people is to treat them well. is to treat them kindly. I got some feedback again from people I'm coaching, and someone told me recently that, as someone is working with a certain coach, they leave the conversation and they don't feel very good. That's not a positive thing if you're in a coaching role, right? My goal when I sit with people, and my goal is when I try to help people, is I want them to feel better after they talk to me. I want them to feel better about what they're looking to accomplish. I want them to help them grow. I'm not looking to knock them down. Life is hard enough. Life is going to knock people around a little bit. My role is to help build people up. But I'll leave you guys with this. Last but not least, so some life lessons on a Friday before we have some guest speakers again for the next few weeks on KLear Channel. Last thing I'll leave you with is eat humble pie. Eat humble pie. When I'm thinking about the places I travel to and the flights I'm taking and if we're on a boat, I want to be on the plane that I have the pilot that's been through some stuff. Because if something goes wrong, I want the experience. I want the pilot that's knows how to correct almost any situation, right? So in business, the more challenging something, there's a ton of value in struggle. The more challenging something is, the more difficulty you have. I get really excited for people when they go through these different moments in their career. There's different moments in the opportunities they're in, because what I know is happening internally is I know the anxiety's building, the frustration's building, and I know those times force people to get better at what they need to get better at their habits, get better at looking at things in a certain way, which ultimately will help them level up. And trust me when I tell you, 5 years from now, who you are now is not gonna be the person that you need to be 5 years from now to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish. You need to grow. You need to get better, just as much as I do, right? The things that I'm looking to do and the organization and the growth that we're having, who I am now, thank God I went through stuff 5 years ago. Thank God that 2-3 years ago, I got my ass kicked in a couple different areas, because who I am now is much better because of those challenges. So that's what I have for you guys today. Happy Friday. Thanks so much for subscribing to the KLear Channel. We really appreciate it. Share it, friends and family. We want to get the subscribers up. Like I said, next few weeks, we're going to have some incredible people on that are coming from a lot of different industries. And I'm just really stoked to get some amazing people on. And I'm like literally trying to line up for almost 8 weeks now of people in a lot of different industries, self-made millionaires all over the place that can help you learn a lot about you and a lot about life. So happy Friday, guys. Thanks so much again. We will see you guys next week. Talk to you soon.